Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note by note. Don't worry, be happy. That was not Jesus. That was not me, although it was me and you, but that was Bobby McFerrin, who wrote that song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. It's not Jesus, but is it very far from Jesus' message that he's giving to his disciples? Of course, Jesus' message has a lot more to it. Don't worry, be happy is McFerrin's message because you'll only make things worse. Jesus gives us a little more than that. However, it is true, as McFerrin says, in every life we have some trouble. The Christian life is not without trouble. Some people say that the Christian life will have even more trouble. Yet in this world of trouble, Jesus offers us peace. Peace that only he can give. Peace and support like no other. A real protection plan with no gimmicks. Last week our reading was about before the resurrection, and so it is today, before the resurrection. And like last week, one of the purposes is to prepare the disciples for after his death, after his resurrection. Again, Jesus is getting his house in order. He's going to be leaving the disciples to carry out the mission. He'll return in the resurrection, but it won't be the same. And after his ascension, which we are going to be celebrating this week. Does anybody know what day we're celebrating it this week? It's the same day as another holiday this week, Cinco de Mayo. However, they are not the same, okay? It just happens to fall on May 5th this year. But you can celebrate it in similar ways, I guess. After the ascension, Jesus won't be walking on this earth again like he did. And this fact will worry the disciples. After his death and after his ascension and before his second coming is that in-between time. What will they do in that in-between time? What will we do in that in-between time without Jesus? Now, last week we talked about Jesus' new commandment, to love one another as I have loved you, he says. And Jesus reinforces that in our reading for today. Those who love me keep my word, and my Father will love them. We will come to them and make our home with them. Whoever does not love me does not keep my words. So it's kind of like, this is what the family of God does. This is what the family of God is about. As I was growing up, I didn't get it that way. I got it. This is not what we do in this family. But Jesus is saying this is what the family of God is about. This is our mission. This is our purpose. To love one another as Jesus has loved us. To love the world as Jesus has loved us. So we're supposed to be talking about coffee. Christ offers forgiveness for everyone, everywhere. You didn't know that that's what coffee was stood for, did you? That's why we always say coffee is good for you. But Jesus won't be walking on this earth as he once did. I'm reminded of math class. When we were in math class and trying to solve math problems, whether the teacher was standing by a chalkboard or like today when they're at the smart board, it's very manageable when the teacher is there and the example, the equation is on the board. It's more manageable. Even when there are sample questions in the book. Okay, we figured out how they can do it. We can do it like in the book. Or maybe when the answers are at the end of the book. But what about when the teacher's gone? What about when the answers aren't in the back of the book? Now, young couples, I know when we were having our children, we would read that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. And that's a wonderful book. It has so many different resources for you. But there are times when things happen that you don't expect, and they're not in the book. Some of you know that we've been having trouble with our telephone system. We have an old telephone system, probably about 15 years old, and not that that's a bad thing, but we don't have anybody to call anymore when things go wrong. Our administrative assistant, Julie, who, by the way, this week was Administrative Assistant Week, just saying. Julie was excited about the idea of getting a new phone system. She said, at least when things go wrong, we'll have somebody to call. Who will we turn to when things go wrong in this life? McFerrin says, in every life we have some trouble. When you worry, you make it double. Don't worry, be happy. Now that's very true. When you worry, you just make it worse. But, Jesus has given us a mission here. Love one another as I have loved you. And we can say, yeah, it's worse when you worry about it, but, it gets complicated. I mean, it's very simple. Love other people as God has loved you. That's very simple. But then you try to apply it. It's like those examples in the book. It looks really easy on the example, but then when you have to do this stuff on your own, it gets complicated. Not only complicated, but it'd be very helpful to have some support. This week in our pastor's Bible study, Pastor Carl from across the street, he gave us this great quote. It's a great quote. He got it in a bad way when a girl broke up with him. But it's many years now. I think he's over it. And it's very, very true. She gave him this thing that said, "Tell me you hate me once, and I'll remember it forever. But if you want me to know that you love me, you're going to have to tell me every day." Now, I know for many Scandinavians and Germans and other ethnic groups, especially those men, this seems to be against their religion. To tell somebody that they love them, especially more than once. We have the old joke, Sven told his wife, he said, I told you I loved you when I married you, and I'll let you know if I ever change my mind. Now that's funny because we know people like that. And it's also funny because we know it doesn't work. We know lots of people like that. And no, it doesn't work. Jesus wants us to keep his word, to live his commandments, to love one another as he has loved us, to love the world as he has loved us. And since he's not just talking about gushy, emotional stuff, since he's talking about caring and taking care of one another, caring and taking care of this world. Remember coffee? What do we do since he isn't standing at the chalkboard or the smartboard to tell us what to do? Because we can and we should do it. Jesus says to his disciples, the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said. The Holy Spirit will teach us as he did Lydia. The Holy Spirit will teach us everything and remind us of all that Jesus has said to us. Maybe we should say that we run on Spirit power. Holy Spirit power. The Christians don't run on petrol, diesel fuel. We run on spiritual fuel. We run on Spirit power. And one of the reasons that we have communion every week, people sometimes ask, why do we have communion every week? It's our spiritual food. It's our spiritual fuel. It's a specific time and place where Jesus tells us, I love you. I care for you. I'm with you in spirit. Now get out there and love. Be that care in my name, in Red Wing and in the world. Jesus says, those who love me will keep my word, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them and make our home with them. Amen?